The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling glass of Sterling Vance's penthouse office, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and blood red. Elias Thorne, a young and brilliant architect, stood trembling, his hands gripping the edge of the mahogany desk. He had just delivered the final blueprints for the Halo, a revolutionary self-sustaining skyscraper designed to house the city's poor. Alongside the wealthy, a project he had dedicated his entire life to creating. "You can't do this, Sterling," Elias whispered, his voice cracking with disbelief. The Halo was for them, for the people. Sterling Vance, a man who wore his wealth like armor, didn't even look up from the document he was signing. He took a sip of amber whiskey, the ice clinking softly in the silence. "Correction, Elias," Sterling said, finally meeting the young architect's eyes with a predator's smile. "It was your work. Now it is my legacy. And you? You are just a liability." Before Elias could react, the heavy oak doors burst open. Security guards, paid off and prepped, swarmed the room. As they dragged Elias away, screaming the truth about the theft, Sterling simply turned his chair to watch the lightning strike the city below, indifferent to the life he had just dismantled. 5 years of silence followed. Elias spent those years in a gray concrete cell, framed for corporate espionage he didn't commit. The prison stripped away his softness. The naive architect died in that cell, and something colder, harder, and more precise took his place. Elias didn't count the days. He counted the structural flaws in Vance's empire. He spent every night mentally reconstructing the blueprints of the tower Vance had stolen, now renamed Vance Tower. Elias knew the building better than the men who built it. He knew where the wires crossed, where the steel groaned, and most importantly, he knew the one critical flaw in the central server cooling system that he had fixed in his original design, a fix he knew Vance would have removed to save money. When the day of his release finally came, Elias walked out of the iron gates not as a free man, but as a ghost. He was unrecognizable. His hair was graying, his face lined with hardship, and his eyes void of mercy. Elias needed a new skin to enter the lion's den. Using a hidden cache of cryptocurrency he had mined before his arrest, he reinvented himself. He became Mr. Moras, a reclusive, wealthy foreign investor with a mysterious background. He spent months fabricating a digital paper trail so convincing that even Vance's background checks wouldn't find a crack. As the grand opening gala of Vance Tower approached, Elias secured an invitation. He arrived at the tower in a sleek black limousine, wearing a suit that cost more than his father's house. He looked up at the glittering steel monster piercing the sky. To the world, it was a marvel of engineering. To Elias, it was a crime scene, and he was the judge. The gala was a sea of champagne and false laughter. Elias moved through the crowd like smoke, his eyes scanning the security protocols. He wore specially designed cufflinks that emitted a low-frequency jamming signal, just enough to cause the building's localized AI to stutter. As Sterling Vance took the stage to give his self-aggrandizing speech, Elias initiated Phase 1. The lights flickered. The elevator stalled between floors. A low hum of anxiety rippled through the billionaire guests. Elias, seizing the moment, approached a frantic Sterling near the backstage area. "Mr. Vance," Elias said, his voice smooth and unrecognizable. "My firm specializes in crisis infrastructure. Your system is overheating. I can bypass the firewall and stabilize it before your investors realize this building is a lemon." Sterling, sweating and desperate to save face, looked at Mr. Moras. He saw a savior, not the man he had destroyed. He handed Elias the keycard to the central server room. Inside the server room, the hum of the machines was deafening. Elias didn't fix the glitch. Instead, he connected his phone and uploaded a file he had been guarding for 5 years. The original date-stamped blueprints and a high-definition audio recording of the night Sterling betrayed him, a recording made on Elias's watch that the police had missed. Elias typed the final command, execute, upstairs. The massive external LED screens that wrapped around the building and the projection screen behind Sterling suddenly turned black. The music stopped. Then, Sterling's voice boomed over the speakers, clear and undeniable. It was your work. Now it is my legacy. The screens lit up with Elias's original schematics, proving the theft. The crowd gasped, phones raised to capture the downfall. Sterling froze on stage, his face draining of color. But Elias wasn't done. He triggered the flaw he knew existed. The fire suppression system above the stage burst, but Elias had rigged the water supply earlier that week. It wasn't clear water that rained down. It was black, indelible ink. Sterling Vance stood center stage, ruined, dripping in black sludge, a visual metaphor for his soul. As the chaos erupted and investors fled the scene, Elias Thorne walked calmly out of the service exit into the rainy night. He paused at the corner, looking back one last time at the tower. The giant screens were still broadcasting the truth to the entire city. He took off the glasses of Mr. Moras and dropped them into a puddle. The architect had reclaimed his name, not by building a tower, but by bringing one down. He turned his collar up against the wind and disappeared into the shadows, finally free.